Alright guys, BLM here, back with a new video. In this video I'll be talking about the future of Big Brother US. And I did do a similar video to this for Survivor, but unlike Survivor, I do feel like the future of Big Brother is a bit more open-ended, where with Survivor, I think it's pretty clear where they're going, where like certain all-star seasons are going to take place, and we have more definitive answers from production themselves about what they want to do. With Big Brother, we don't really have that, so it makes it a bit more difficult to talk about it, but let's get started. So let's start by talking about the show's longevity, which, even more so than Survivor, I don't see Big Brother being canceled anytime soon, as it's extremely cheap to make. I mean, they already have the house built. The prize money is only half of that of something like Survivor. The stipend is way less. And while it doesn't do the same ratings as Survivor, it does do pretty good ratings for being a summer show, which is a time where TV ratings are typically down anyways. So in terms of the basic longevity of the show, I don't see it going anywhere. I mean, the only thing that could stop it is possibly some massive scandal on like someone getting murdered or something. But outside of that, I just don't see it happening. But the real question here is, what is the show going to be? Because again, it's going to be on. It's just a matter of what the show is. And I don't know, we've seen a pretty radical change in Big Brother ever since, what, BB14 or so? Where now the show is being marketed as this like happy-go-lucky summer show that really caters towards being a family show. And this came at the cost of really minimalizing the gameplay for most people on the show and seemingly casting people who don't really know the show as well. So while I don't like a lot of the changes that they've made more recently to Big Brother, I will say that I do think BB21 did execute some pretty interesting editing and storytelling techniques that did make those episodes a bit better, in my opinion. I mean, the Sunday episode was used as a way to show more of the strategy and gameplay from the previous week, which, I mean, has been done in previous seasons. I mean, there's some examples like double evictions where they do that. And like when Paul convinced everyone to throw the competition to Christmas. I mean, there's like random situations where they do flashbacks to the previous week and show some strategy stuff. But it felt like with BB21, they were doing it a lot more often. And mind you, a lot of that was because of a lot of last minute changes in the vote in BB21. But I still think it's something that they could continue in the future. And I do hope that they do. But the main thing about modern Big Brother that I really don't care for is like the cheesiness and the really dumb humor that the show has really leaned on in recent years. Now, obviously, it's always been there. I mean, there's always been some sort of cheesiness and like dumb costumes and that sort of thing. But it feels like within the last like 5 seasons or so, I think BB16 is the real turning point, where ever since then, it feels like the show has really become more focused on those sort of things. And again, I think a lot of that comes from their attempts to make it a family show. Now, another thing that I think will sadly stay on the show are the dumb twists that start off each season. I mean, BB21 had the Whacktivity comps, BB20 had the Power Apps, BB19 had the Den of Temptation, BB18 had the Roadkill, and on and on and on. I mean, again, I understand why they're there. Production feels like they need these twists at the beginning of the season to, one, keep the viewers entertained, but also, more importantly, they need to fill the Sunday night episode. And that's something that production has always had issues with. That's why a lot of the later HOH competitions end up being either endurance competitions or just like competitions that carry over to the next episode, because production wants to have a competition on the Sunday night episode. Now, again, I really like the format that they did with BB21, where they added in clips from the previous week, and I do think that could be something that they do in the future, where they become less focused on filling the Sunday night episode. But I have a feeling it's not going to stop. I think BB22 will do the same thing. We'll start with some stupid comp that gives out a power or makes a third nominee, and then it'll pretty much be there for first, like, what, 3 to 4 weeks of the game. That's pretty much the same thing that's going to happen next season, so, oh well. Another change I would like is for casting to do a better job. I mean, as I said, I think BB16 was a turning point for Big Brother. I think one of the things that changed that season was the cast. I mean, BB15 is one of the most game-savvy casts in the history of the show. But then we go to BB16, which is one of the least game-savvy casts in the history of the show. I mean, obviously we did have Derek, we had Frankie, we had even Cody Calafiore wasn't half bad. But pretty much everyone else on that season was pretty bad in terms of their gameplay that season. And ever since then, it's been kind of continuing. I mean, I think really, to be honest, I mean, BB17, BB18, and even BB20 weren't as bad, but they definitely had aspects of this sort of people that were there solely to gain a following on like Instagram or something. And I mean, BB19 though is the biggest example of another one that's just as bad as BB16, if not probably even worse. Or I mean, if you try to think of like who actively played a strong game in BB19, I mean, no one played well on that season except for Paul. And I think that was probably the biggest failing of casting from a gameplay perspective. But I do think BB21 also just showed a complete laziness from casting as well, with multiple groups of people that knew each other. I mean, we had Holly and Kat, who knew each other from pageant stuff. We had Holly and Jackson, who Jackson followed Holly on Instagram before the season. I mean, we had Tommy and Christy, who obviously were pretty much like family. And I mean, the thing is, okay, production knew about Tommy and Christy, so at least there's that. But I mean, like, I feel like the Holly and Kat stuff is even worse because they didn't know about that one, and they could have easily just found it by checking their Instagram. Like, the Superman community found it right away. It's like, why couldn't production find this? Like, it's really mind-blowing to me how lazy that is. But yeah, I mean, I want a better cast. I mean, I really want a better cast. Now, I don't need all super fans. I mean, I don't even want all super fans. I just think we need a balanced cast. Like, a cast that has enough game-savvy players, but at the same time also has some really fun characters. And whether those people are recruited or are fans or applicants of the show, it really doesn't matter. It's just you need a strong cast. And I feel like that's something Big Brother really lacked in specific seasons like BB 16, 19, and even 21. So I'm just hoping for a better cast for BB 22. So something else I want to talk about here is the new Endgame format that seems like Big Brother is taking, with the inclusion now of a lot of physical competitions towards the endgame. And this is something that I think is going to stay. And it's something I don't really want to stay. It's something that I do think really changes up this game in a really negative light, where this game's going to become much more winnable. I think that's the problem I had with Big Brother Canada, where Big Brother Canada is a game where if you're able to lock down those mental comps like Kevin Martin was able to do, you can run the table. And I feel like Big Brother US is becoming that way with physical comps. The exact same problem, but with a different type of competitions. And obviously we've seen that in the 2 seasons that have exemplified this change with BB20 and BB21, where Casey was able to win out on her season and Jackson was able to win out on his. And I do think this is a trend that will probably continue moving forward. I think it's going to be very tough for an underdog, sort of weaker physical player, someone like a Cliff, someone like a Nicole, or someone like a JC. I think it's going to be very tough for them to make it to the end. And even if they do, I feel like the jury is going to look at them as having a smaller resume because of that. So again, this is a turn I don't like for Big Brother, but I do think it's one that people are going to have to adjust their strategies for. I think in the coming seasons, people are going to have to come into the game and realize that they need to take out these physical threats pretty early on before the midpoint in the game, where it seems like from the midpoint on, the game starts to get a lot more physical now. So I think coming into next season, people like the Jacks of the world, people like the Jacksons of the world, people like the Nicks of the world should be targeted earlier on to make sure there's no massive physical threats at the end of the game. Another change that I should mention here as well is the fact that during BB21, they did get rid of the recap episode. And that is something that, thank God they did, because no one liked the recap episode. And instead, they showed part 1 of the HOH, which is cool. They did also have like a sort of short recap of each of the Final Three's games narrated by themselves. I thought that was actually a pretty fun thing to see. I thought it was actually a pretty cool segment for the show. And I do hope they continue that on in the future. However, you would think that they were doing this because they wanted to have more time in the finale, because they always have rush finales. And guess what? We still got a rush finale. So that didn't really have any impact on that, even though obviously you would assume that it would, which is something that I do feel like should change. Now, another thing I'd like to address is the Final 2 format. I mean, the Final 2 format currently sucks, like the finale format, the way that we come into the finale with a Final 3. Live, they play the final HOH. They vote out the person that comes in 3rd place. And then we have live jury questioning that takes up of 5 minutes. And then we have the vote and then the winner. I mean, for a 100-day game to be explained within 5 minutes is ridiculous. I don't know why they decided. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I know why they decided to do this. I mean, it's obviously because they want more action in the finale. But this comes at a great cost to the gameplay. I think the biggest example of this is BB20, where Tyler wins the season if he was given more time. I mean, he flipped Haley's vote, and through flipping Haley's vote, he probably would have gotten Fessy's vote as well. And even Bailey was talking about how she considered voting for Tyler after his jury speech. I think even someone like Dan would have had a harder time winning BB10 if he didn't have that hours-long jury questioning to smooth things over. And I do feel like that's something that Big Brother should go back to. Now, how do you do both things? This is my proposal, and I know they won't do this, but this is what I would like to see. I would like final 3 jury questioning. Now, again, there's an entire week of the show where nothing is happening. I mean, we have the stupid recap episodes. It's like, why not do jury questioning at the final 3? That way, the jury gets to know the games of all 3 people that are left in the game, and then by the time we get to the final 2, they have a well-informed opinion of who played the best game. And this wouldn't even be that difficult to do. Now, there is a problem of them possibly having to lie to the jury because they don't want all of their plans for who they're going to vote out at the final 3 to be revealed. But I still think that this is much better. And I think there's a way to solve this as well, and that is to have one-on-one jury questioning, or at least like the one person talking to the jury with the other 2 people being sequestered. And I think that could work. I mean, they won't do it because it seems like they're very stuck on this current format that they're doing. But I would like to see it. But again, won't happen. Something else I'd like to talk about is I don't get why we keep on getting these 16-person casts, which end up requiring at least one buyback to get on schedule. Like either shorten the season, which they won't do, or more likely, increase the cast to 18. Like, I don't get why they don't do this. Like, it's so strange. I mean, again, obviously it will probably cost them more money. I mean, that is a factor there. So I don't know if they feel like it's worth it, but at least from a game sense, like, it makes the most sense to not have all these buybacks or having some slower weeks. Now, I guess I could talk about Julie Chen as well, and I feel like the show could easily move on without Julie Chen. I've always found her to be a pretty mediocre host to begin with. But unlike someone like Jeff Probst, she's not part of production. I mean, she simply shows up and does her job. And if she were to leave, I personally wouldn't really miss her. But I don't think she's leaving anytime soon. I mean, she didn't leave when Les Moonves had that scandal and everything. So I don't think she plans on really ever leaving. And the only way she would leave is if she got fired, or, I mean, maybe like years and years down the road. But again, I just don't see it happening. I think she's probably here to stay. And that's it. I mean, that's pretty much everything I got to say about the future of Big Brother US. Again, I really don't see it going anywhere anytime soon, and I don't really see them drastically changing anything over the next few years either. I don't see Julie leaving. I don't see Alison Grodner or Rich Meehan leaving. I don't see them changing the game format, except for possibly expanding the cast by 2. So I know this is a boring result for this video, but again, I just don't think Big Brother's going to change that much, and I feel like that's the way Big Brother's going to move forward. So yeah, that's the video. Thank you for watching.